so the housing market is a whole lot worse. We're recording. Let me go to main. Okay. All right. The housing market is a whole lot worse. And I'm going to hit this button. And then let me get your thing up. Your page channels up. Okay. Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, we're going to really take a dive and look at why the housing market is a whole lot worse than you may think. And I have a guest star on our channel today, the only other YouTuber that I will admit has better hair and even perspective, even perspective than I do. MichaelBordenaro, everyone. Michael, sir, how are you? Oh my gosh. All right, take that over. I had you on mute. Michael, sir, how are you? That's where it's at. I'm so sorry.
I'm doing great, Travis. Thank you again for having me on. And I'm glad I can still at least beat you in the hair department.
Man, you know, you could beat me in a lot of departments, but that's definitely one, brother. I don't know why I always talk about that. Maybe it's just the jealousy inside me. I don't know. I don't want to be a jealous person, but I really appreciate you, coming onto the channel once again. You've been on the channel a few times. I absolutely love your perspective, brother. Iron sharpens iron. I want the viewers to hear someone else talking about what I've been talking about. So we're going to dig into some really cool stuff today, guys. But before we really continue, do us a favor, like this video, comment if you would, guys. Don't leave us hanging, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And when you're done doing that, please, you guys, go over to Michael's channel right here, Michael Bordenaro. As you can see, he has amazing videos. You guys know that he's inspired me to go out in the field myself and to shoot a couple videos. So check him out, guys. Extremely valuable videos. But Michael, before we really dig in, brother, do you have anything you kind of want to say before we jump in?
I just want to say thanks for having me on again, Travis, and I look forward to trying to give your viewers some extra value today.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. So let me show you real quick. Let's talk about listings. So, here's the thing, man, and I know you get it as well. We get so many people that comment on our channels that are like haters, and I think a lot of them may be investors, and they say like crazy things like supply and blah, 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 blah. But, we have a lot of data now, and one of the data sets that I'm really enjoying looking at is inventory. So I kind of want to jump into inventory and actually looking at the active units, not normally, normally I look at months of supply because it takes into account demand, but let's just look at active inventory. I'm going to bring up something real quick for you that I want our viewers to see here. So take a look at this, Michael. Now, this is listings that are up year over year. Now, historically, we lose listings this time of year, historically. So I just wanted to point out that Phoenix is number one at 167%. So triple digit listings for Phoenix. Raleigh, North Carolina is at 166% increase in listings. Nashville at 125. My favorite city of Austin. Obviously Tampa, and that rounds out the triple digit active inventory growth. Then that's followed by Las Vegas at 90%, Jacksonville at 84, another Texas city at Dallas at 84, Orlando, there's another Florida, 79. So, point is obviously, inventory is going up a lot faster than, a lot of people thought. And, the other thing, Michael, is, things are a lot worse. There's certain things that we know are worse right now, like quantitative tightening is a lot worse. There's an everything bubble. Unaffordability is worse. Inflation is worse. So we already know things that are worse because we have the data. But the question is what is going to be worse that we don't see coming? And and I'm going to let you talk. I'm sorry for rambling, man. I'm a rambler. I'm working on it. I'm taking classes on how to learn how to tell a story and not ramble. Or at least I should take classes like that is what I meant to say. But, we had a record halt in equity growth in June. It was the fastest deceleration in history. We have the fastest price declines in the history of the U.S. housing market. And not only that, media is failing us. Professionals are failing us. Zillow, Redfin, CoreLogic, it's failing America. So can you talk about, a little bit about that, Michael? And can you tell us, what you see happening as far as like listings, prices, and things of that nature, and why it might be worse than 2008?
Yeah. So obviously, markets are specific to where you live, and it's not going to look worse or better depending on where you live. Like, for example, I live in Miami, and prices are down probably like 5% here. So it's not a huge decrease, but it's down. But the inventory still isn't that high. So in a place like where I live, for example, the market's still what you would call relatively strong. But you look at these other places that Travis just showed, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, and those places, I mean, those cities had some of the largest inputs of institutional investors. And I think that's why you're starting to see inventory rise so much in those places, because they're all trying to get out now while the getting's still good. And that's something that a lot of people might not have seen coming, because, I hear all the time people say in the comments, they reference the great reset, you'll own nothing and be happy, right? You hear that all the time.
All the
So
time.
yeah. Well, here's your chance to own it, guys. If you're a buyer, there's cities where there's plenty of selection of places to buy. But of course, now that the problem is the interest rates, and that's going to continue to be a problem well into next year, I'm sure. But this is good news if you're a home buyer. That's what I think.
I think it's absolutely, and I'll pull up the interest rates for you, Michael, because I was going to kind of get us there, and I definitely want to come back to in the investor involvement. But I mean, the thing is I get, first of all, I understand that my father and my grandfather had a double-digit interest rate. Like, I get it, right? But nevertheless, interest rates are like at almost a 2-decade high. The last time rates were this high, Michael, was in 2002. And
Yeah.
and that's coming, and that was actually coming out of a recession. Actually, it was lowering then, but it has been a long time since interest rates have been this high. It has been 20 years, and obviously 20 years ago the median sales price was much lower. So this massive increase in interest rate right here is basically showing people, and I hope the viewers understand, that the interest rates doubled in 1 year. They more than doubled in 1 year, and that has never happened in the history of interest rates. Interest rates have never doubled in 1 year. We've never had so much, this quickly of a price crash. So, I mean, can people really be prepared if interest rates essentially skyrocket overnight? Can you talk, Michael, on, talk about the rug pull, talk about how, the skyrocketing interest rates, people are not keeping up with that.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is affordability right now is basically out the window, because one thing a lot of people don't realize, they see the headline, 30-year mortgage rates just hit 7.09%. Yeah, that's for the person that has an 840 credit score, 830
Yeah.
credit score, no debt, very strong income, high down payment. Almost no one's getting that rate unless you want to spend a lot of money buying it down. And, most people are already getting rates in the 8%. And, when you're looking at an 8% rate and median home prices, still hovering close to $400,000, 360, a lot of people can't afford it. And so that's the main issue. And I think affordability is going to continue to be the issue well into 2023 for a lot of people, especially because of inflation.
Yeah, I mean, do you see when do you and I don't have a degree in economics. I don't even have a degree at all. You could probably tell from my speech and grammar, which is why I have to stick to like cringe dad humor. I don't know if you noticed that. Probably you did. Probably you didn't.
Hey, I don't have a
Um,
degree either, Travis. I'm just a high school graduate. So
Bro, I mean, I'm just about hard work and logic, and just like, be nice, be transparent, be honest, help someone that needs help. I mean, it's just simple principles of life that it's really sad to see kind of chiseled away. And I'm really trying to do a good job. I have 4 children. Do you have children?
no, I don't.
Man, okay, I'm not going to go there. You need to do 2 videos a day. If I'm doing 2 videos a day, you need to be doing 2 videos a day. I got 4 kids, man. But no, seriously, brother, talk a little bit about, and I'm going to get into distressed sellers and what it looks like for a distressed seller to sell in a distressed market. But tell us a little bit about, talk about institutional investors. You're in Florida. Obviously, Florida is being ravaged by investor share. I mean, pretty much every city, there's tons of metro areas that are coastal. Tell me, do you think that, as a result of the, overwhelming institutional investment and even investor, shares increasing, do you think that it's going to make the price crash worse as a result of so much investor share?
Yeah, I do, because you already see in those cities they're starting to throw those houses on the market. So that increases inventory, which, lowers the prices. That's basically just the law of supply and demand, just like we saw on the run up, when we had interest rates at 2%, 2.5%. Anyone could afford a house, especially when prices were still at $250,000 for most people, or maybe even less, depending on where you live. So, that's why prices shot up so fast, because the demand was extremely hot and there was a lot of inventory. And now we're seeing the exact opposite happen. We're starting to see a situation where the demand is almost totally gone and inventory is starting to go back up. So, the institutional investors are going to play a big role in this, in the sense that they're going to be getting rid of properties because they're no longer profitable for them, because they buy a lot of properties with other people's money. That's what smart businesses do. They borrow, and they don't have just all this money that's all theirs. They don't just have all of their own billions of dollars. They get a lot of private investors investing in their companies, and those investors want a return. And when there isn't a return, they need to be paid back. And that's what we're starting to see right now.
I mean, so it's fair to say, I mean, that there's an overwhelming amount of pressure on some. And I mean, we get that there's different levels of investors. I'm sure someone's going to have a gripe with what we're saying. But, the fact matters is homeowners that have primary residences, most of them refinanced or should have refinanced into a low rate. There's not as much pressure on them, right? There's a lot more pressure on investors and institutional investors because, like you said, they're borrowing other people's money, and that money has poor financing terms, right? So there
Yes.
is more. And Michael, in that poor financing, do is a lot of that adjustable? Like if the rates go up, does that directly hit investors, a lot of investors, like overnight? I don't know a lot about how that works, is why I ask.
Yeah, I was just reading about that a few days ago, and the most recent reference is with Blackstone. They're
Yeah,
seeing they have a lot of adjustable rate mortgages or
yeah,
loans, and they saw it go from 5% to 7% overnight. And I warn people all the time on my channel about regular home buyers taking one of these adjustable rate mortgages, because this can happen to you. And
yeah.
even on a large scale, when you owe a lot of money, imagine how much the debt obligation goes up overnight. And now they're going to have to sell some of these properties that are no longer profitable, because they're a business and they need to turn a profit for their investors. And on top of that, they're limiting how much money investors can even pull out of the company right now, because, if people get scared and everybody tries to make withdrawals all at once, then the company can go broke overnight.
I mean, isn't that shock? I mean, isn't that astonishing to you? I mean, this is big stuff, man. I mean, we had different, tragedies back then. It was more of a household tragedy back then, where subprime collapse, financial meltdown. Right now, I see business collapse right now, where before is more household collapse. So I think we're going to see a bunch more bankruptcies. And here's a point that I want to make, and you brought this to light: ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. People count on refinancing, right? If I get an ARM or a homeowner gets an ARM, we have to refinance. The thing, or sell, right? Is
Right.
normally how that works. The thing is if you bought recently, you can't. In order to refinance and sell, you have to have equity. You have to qualify to refinance. And if you don't have equity and you're upside down in your house, you don't qualify, right? So that's a really big deal. So I want to kind of talk about that, Michael. Now, here's the thing: if we go into an environment of fear and emotion, and it spreads to the seller's market, and prices are going down, investors are fire selling, new construction is fire selling. There's all of these fire selling going on, dropping prices, and then lo and behold, it finally starts to hit the resale market. Now, the number one reason people sell their houses is not interest rate. Okay, interest rates makes home ownership affordable, right? Or you have a payment, you borrow money. The number one reason people are moving is employment, right? But not only employment, there's also, unfortunately, divorce, there's death, there's a ton of reasons to need to move. So will you talk, and kind of talk it to the viewers on what it might look like for a distressed seller to sell their property in a distressed market? So in other words, like if the crash really gets out of control in 2023, and prices are maybe down 15, 20%, and someone has to sell in that environment. Can you tell the viewers what that looks like?
Yeah, well, it doesn't look good, that's for sure, especially if you're a recent buyer. If you bought in the last couple years, and especially if you put a low down payment, that's like basically the worst situation you can be in. Somebody that needs to sell that just bought, 12 months ago, 24 months ago, you only put 10% down, and now your mortgage is underwater. Now you're faced with a short sale situation, and that's if your lender approves it. Not everybody's even lucky enough to be able to do a short sale. And if you can't do that, then your only other option is foreclosure, unfortunately. So it's not a good situation to be in. People that have owned the homes much longer, that paid a lot lower prices, maybe 5, 6 years ago, maybe they'll have a better shot at getting out
Yeah.
of the property before they, before they need to do a short sale or go into foreclosure. But then, if that's happening on a widespread scale, then what's happening? Inventory is shooting through the roof, and it's going to be still difficult to sell your house when there's 10 other ones like it right down the street for sale.
Dude, I couldn't have said that better myself, and I have tried, so I know. Can you talk, Michael, just a little bit about buyer's remorse? I've taken a look at a couple surveys, man, and as much as about 70%, we'll say 70% of the people surveyed, and I don't know who they survey. I don't know if it was biased. I think all of these surveys are biased, to be honest with you. But people surveyed that purchased in 2021 and in 2022, 70% of those people essentially have buyer's remorse. Can you talk on why you think that may be?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have it mainly because, they saw the situation where home prices are going up at record paces, and they're probably making a couple offers, losing out left and right to multiple offer situations, and people paying more, over asking price. And then it creates that FOMO, and it's like, okay, I need to get in while I can, and I need to beat the next guy. If it means I have to pay more, then I have to pay more. Or if they're not paying more, sometimes people just bought a house that maybe that wasn't their first choice, maybe it wasn't even their third choice, but it was all they could get. And I think that's where a lot of the buyer's remorse is coming from, is making too hasty of decisions. I mean, in normal times, Travis, like all the people I've worked with in the past, like most people take at least a few months to buy something, because they want to look at 10, 12 different places, and then they make a couple offers, it doesn't work out, all right, let's try another one. But whatever happened over the last couple of years was like a whole anomaly. People were doing stupid things essentially to get into homes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we were like screaming at the top of our lungs, like, you guys, time out, right? Time out. This is not going to end well. And we were saying that in the midst of like the fear of missing out. So let me ask you, Michael, and this is a ridiculous question, I understand, but should we invest in real estate with our emotions?
Absolutely not.
Do people?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And why do you think that is?
I think it all just comes down to FOMO. They don't want to be the one that didn't do it, and they see everyone else do it. Like, I saw somebody make a comment, I think it was yesterday, like, "Oh, I feel like everyone else around me is a millionaire. I'm seeing them buy houses and drive these cars and do all this, and meanwhile, I can't even afford to pay my bills." Like, well, maybe they can't either. Maybe they just have access to more credit. Maybe they're buried in debt. Like, you don't know other people's situation. And when you see other people and it appears like everyone's doing better than you, it kind of puts people in that situation. Well, oh, there's this opportunity on the table, I better take it while I can get it. Who cares if the fundamentals are there?
It's a sad thing, man. I mean, people have to people should treat this transaction like it deserves to be treated. The biggest financial transaction of your life.
Yeah.
So I mean, my goodness, man. I mean, treat it like that, really astonishing, man. So, Michael, we've covered a lot, brother. I definitely appreciate it. I also look at, all of this emotion, all of this waving contingencies, going over asking price. I mean, I think it's a failure of society. I look at it as a super failure of society. And then I ask myself, I mean, like, well, what did we do wrong? Because there's never been so much information available. When back in 2008, when I lost everything, I had my foreclosure. I didn't have YouTube, right? I didn't have all of this information and all of this warning. So huge failure, in my eyes, man. I put blame on multiple parties. Some people say it's the biggest part of the homeowner because it's their transaction, and a lot of weight of blame would go there. But I also see it as there is a herd mentality, and people do purchase for pride of ownership, and they don't purchase it as an investment. So I look at it, man. The bigger failure is on the professionals. I put the failure on professionals. Like in 2008, people were like, "Oh, subprime borrowers knew what they were getting into." But the thing is there were people selling the product, and people trust professionals, right? So, where do you think the bigger failure is? Do you think the bigger failure sits on top of the, past home buyers that had the fear of missing out, or, do you think more blame is to be put on the professionals that were not, pumping the brakes, that stayed over optimistic?
Well, I feel like it's difficult to blame it totally on the professionals. Like a lot of people want to blame realtors and stuff for, pumping up the market and pushing people to buy things. But at the end of the day, it's still your decision whether or not you're going to
Yeah.
go through with it or not. So you need to listen to that gut instinct. And also, put yourself in the real estate agent's shoes. Like if someone comes to you and says, I want to buy something, and it's not our job to talk you out of it. Essentially, if you ask my opinion, if I'm giving my personal opinion, if you want it, I'll give it to you. Like, do I think it's a good
Yeah.
time to buy? No. But a lot of times people don't even ask that. They're just like, I want this, I want X, Y, and Z. Please find it for me, and I'm ready to make an offer yesterday. So that was kind of like what happened to people. And I don't blame the realtors for taking those deals. I mean, I even sold some places during this run up because you don't turn down a deal, and unless somebody's asking for your advice on whether or not um, they should do it. I mean, we can give that advice all we want, but in most of my experiences, it never really changes anybody's mind. But as far as like who's to blame, I feel like it's much more to blame on the overall Fed and the economy because we had the perfect storm of low interest rates simultaneously with low home prices. So that was like an unbelievable opportunity for many people that got in at the beginning. And without that perfect storm, oh, and by the way, a lot of people had extra money from the stimulus money as
Yeah.
well. So if that never would have happened, if they never would have done that, lowered the rates to record low rates, and they never would have given out all of the stimulus money, I don't think we would have seen this run up. I don't think it would have happened, basically.
I'm glad you said that, man. I mean, that is so true. I mean, the thing is, the sellers, the realtors, they don't control the market. I mean, the
Right.
market controls itself. The Federal Reserve is pulling levers here. I mean, if anyone really wants to blame anyone, and I don't even know why I didn't mention that in my question towards you. I mean, it is the Fed. I mean, the rate, if the realtors were in control, the rates would be 0% right now,
Right.
right? So they're not in control, and I guess I kind of was just looking at it from more of a negligent standpoint, right? Like, we technically work for brokers, and if someone wants to buy a house, our job is to facilitate that transaction. So I totally get what you're saying and back in 2008, I kind of referenced that because loan officers, even though if someone would call me to do a loan, Michael, and it was stated income, like I knew they couldn't afford the house, you walk away, right? I mean, there's a certain, I got in mortgages at a super young age, but towards the end there, I mean, I couldn't stomach it, man. I mean, I was just seeing what was going on, and I'm like, this isn't right. You can clearly see that things are changing. This person's working at Taco Bell, but just bought a $600,000 house with no down payment, right? I mean, that's not going to work, man. So, but ultimately, I think it is the Fed for sure that was calling the shots, and ultimately it's your decision to sign the dotted line,
Yeah.
and I'm not knocking home buyers, because I understand the emotion, but again, you got to pump the brakes a little bit when it comes to purchasing real estate. I mean, it's a really scary thing. And the other problem, Michael, how do you find the right professional as a consumer? Where do you say I want to buy in Austin? Where do I go to know that I can trust someone to work with?
Yeah, I mean that's such a hard thing to say because everybody is different and how they find people, and obviously the internet has changed a lot of things with real estate, especially since I started in real estate. But My personal way, like that I would do it if I were looking for an agent in a strange city, I would literally walk into different real estate offices and just talk to different people. You don't have any obligation to do anything with them. Get a feel for their personality and see if you trust them. See if they seem like they know what they're talking about, and at least interview a few different people like that. That maybe would take you a couple hours, to just meet with a couple different agents. And first of all, like, I'm not the agent that always spent a bunch of time in the office. I did in the beginning of my career, and we had something that was called floor time, where
Yeah.
we would take walk-in clients right off the street, and we had a lot of foot traffic in that office that I was in. So we had a lot of incentive to be in the office. And so there's still a lot of offices like that. And if you find an agent that's in the office, like that's already a good sign, because they're trying, they're working full time as an agent, and they're making a go at it. And if you interview a few people like that, I'm sure you could find somebody pretty trustworthy. That's how I would personally do it. But a lot of people, they just click a button on the screen, just like the online dating crap and all of that. And that's how they find people now.
Or my cousin, my aunt, they just passed the exam, so we're going to use them. I mean, how many times, I mean, I get
Oh
it.
yeah.
Use your family. I get, whatever, but it's just like, you guys, like, give me a break. I mean, this is huge. Like, you need to be able to negotiate. And I absolutely agree with what you're saying, man. I mean, sometimes the only thing we can do is interview multiple people, right? Multiple people, give them a similar task. So great points, man. I really appreciate your time, Michael. Uh, you know, definitely like your lighting as well back there. I don't know if I comment on that. I don't know if you did anything
Oh,
differently.
thanks.
Super cool. I just noticed that right now because I've been looking right here, not right there, right here. So, brother, before we go, anything that you want to say to the viewers before we go?
Yeah, well, like Travis said, be careful. If you've never bought a house before, or even if you have and you've been thinking about buying, be really cautious right now. Home values are dropping in a lot of different areas, and maybe that doesn't matter to you if you are planning on owning the house for a very long time, and that would be fine. But that's not the case for a lot of people. Statistically speaking, people move like every 5 to 7 years, and right now it could be a dangerous time to buy, as we're just starting to go past that tipping point of the market going down. And we don't really know how far it's going to go down or when it might start going back up. So use your best instinct, be careful, interview the agents like we talked about, and that'll give you the best chances at, having a fair shot out there. And also, of course, watching our YouTube channels.
Man, brother, I'm so glad you said that, man. I mean, just that's what I'm saying. I love doing collabs. You just brought out of me. I mean, how how tired are you of hearing from people that say it's only going to matter if you buy right now if you have to sell in 10 years, right? Like, it's going to rebound in 10 years. It's only bad if you sell. It's like, the thing is like, historically the averages is what people stay in their house for 5 years,
Right. I
right? I
mean,
mean,
most
it's like,
people just don't. They don't stay. And it's because people can't sit still. And especially look at today's society, Travis. Like everyone wants everything now. Oh, you're telling me you're not going to move if you get a job offer 3 years from now where they're going to pay you 30% more? You probably will. Well, I'll just turn the house into the rental. Great. But did you run the rental numbers on the house before you bought it? Is it going to cash flow, or is it going to cost you money? You got to think about that stuff.
yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, I hate it. I hate hearing people say that. And then again, the number one reason people move is unemployment.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not talking about interest rates make it harder or easier. That's it. So great discussion today, Michael. You guys don't forget to go over to Michael's channel on YouTube, like his video, subscribe to it. Let him know that you came from my channel if that's where you came from. And Michael, sit tight with me 1 second, okay, brother?
You got it.
All right. All right, guys. Again, show that man some love. Huge inspiration on this channel. Now, obviously, you guys, we hope you guys got value, insights, and perspective from today's video. And if you're out there investing in real estate, I wish you luck, and I hope you win. All right, man. That was a good one, bro. I
Nice.
liked it, dude.